In number 20, we're talking about NOAA conducted a survey on sports participation. What we have here we're called dot plots. Okay, this just tells you like the number of people's ages from 6 through 12. I basically have listed them all out, and for this one too, I've listed them all out. The answer is 4. The data for basketball players have a greater mean than the soccer players. Remember, mean is the average. So what I did in my calculator was added all these up and then divided by how many that there were, added them all up, and then divided by how many there were, and choice 4 was my answer. Now, number 1 and choice 2 involve two words that you may or may not have seen before. Number 21 gives a graph of the average resting heart rate by ages. The most logical conclusion here, especially when it says which one of these conclusions is not supported by the graph, I'm going to choose choice 1 because it says a 10-year-old has the same average resting heart rate. Well, a 10-year-old has an average heart rate of about, I don't know, what is that, 92? Whereas a 20-year-old has an average heart rate of 72. These are not the same, so I have choice number 1. The method of completing the square was used to solve the equation. Now, if you notice, each of these numbers are divided by 2. So if I divide or factor out a 2, if I divide every single thing by 2, you're going to get x squared minus 6x plus 3 equals 0. So as long as all of these are divisible by 2, now 0 is technically divisible by 2 because 0 divided by 2 is 0. Now to complete the square, remember you have to move this over first. You have x squared minus 6x equals negative 3. Remember, you're going to take half of 6 and square it, and you're going to put that here, but you also have to put it over here. And then what you get here is you get x minus 3 squared equals 6. They're actually not even asking you to go any further, but they're asking you which one is the next correct step. And if you notice, my equation here looks the same as choice number 1. In number 23, what I did for myself was they give you plan A, which is a linear function here, and then plan B, they give you this quadratic function. What I did for myself is I actually put it in my y equals, and then what I did is I went to my table and I plotted these points. Now if you notice the x-axis, is weeks. So I went to, I cycled through my table and I went to 30 and I plotted the point 4501. So at 30 I plotted the point 4501. So what you start to see here is a parabola forming. Okay? Now Nancy wants to have the highest savings possible. She picks plan B. This is plan B, and this line is plan A. So after a year, that's 52 weeks. So after a year, 2, 4, 6, 8. So about right here, we have to see which one is higher. Okay, and it looks like plan B is. So Nancy is correct, and the reasoning is because plan B is a quadratic function. I mean, this is not an exponential function. That is not true. For number 24, they give you a situation about the Boston Marathon and exponential growth. Remember, they're telling you that this formula is the mileage, and it can be modeled by 120 times 0.90 to the w minus 1. Now remember, 120 in this case is going to be your starting amount of mileage, 0.9. Because of this number, because there's one number inside the parentheses, remember if we talk about 120 and 1 minus 0.10. So what's happening here is that the rate of change is 10%. Okay, and then because 1 minus 0.10 is less than 1, we say this is decreasing. It's going to be an exponential decay. Okay, but what they're asking here, it almost seems a little too simplistic. Which statement is true about the model M of W? It's choice 3. This represents the total mileage run in a given week.